UKLC.
I mean, that's the thing. The stakes are so high today compared to the past 2 days. I mean, shit, there was a lot there, but the fact that one team will be in the UKLC and one team will be leaving it today in this one best of 3, there's so much pressure.
And we also haven't seen these two teams faced off because Nvision faced off against Bulldog, whereas it was E9 who took on Darkspawn. So we don't actually know how this is going to happen. Let's take a look at the bracket to see how we reached this final destination. And
I mean, we look at the upper bracket. We had Darkspawn take on E9. E9 went 2-0 over them. Then Nvision, they went 2-0 over Bulldog. Both of our UKL teams went 0-2. It was a hard-fought victory at the beginning of yesterday for E9, though, who took out Nvision 2-1. Then Bulldog able to get himself well, they were knocked out. Darkspawn, they were the ones who got the 2-0 over Bulldog, and now they have to take on Nvision. I actually find it really hard to kind of figure out who we think is going to be our top team, who our favorite team is coming into this, because I think yesterday the other games were a little bit more clear-cut. For me, I actually don't know who the favorite is.
I mean, I think that's the thing, is that if you just look at the raw scores, then you would say Nvision, because they had a really close match against E9, who did have a 2-0 against Darkspawn. But based on how they were playing yesterday, I think Darkspawn really started to step up their level. And I think if they get their hands on the right sort of draft in this series, I think they have a pretty good chance to take it. And I would edge them slightly ahead as favorites, but you can't rule Nvision out.
the Rise type of draft, because I want to see Beely on that Rise again. And
well, I don't think Nvision does.
No, I don't think we will see it. And for me, also, the question is, we saw Nvision, whenever they have the opportunity, they go back to these comfort picks of the Vladimir and the Azir. Now, you see a top lane yesterday, I think, is best left unspoken because that was just a complete dismantling. But if they avoid that situation... Yes, it was.
Don't send your Azir top lane, is all I'm going to say on that.
Besides that, they were able to hold on in the game that we saw them play against Bulldog. And then we saw the game with Darkspawn go late as well yesterday. And Nvision seemed to be really comfortable there. But I don't know, because like you said, Darkspawn are really looking to be on a tear at the moment.
You got to remember, E9 actually were losing the game 1 versus Nvision. Nvision are a team who, you know, we kind of criticize them for being able to only play this early game style. They actually played really, really well in the early game to them. And that's where I start to worry for Darkspawn is, can they play quite as high tempo as now Nvision have shown us?
Yeah, but I think in reverse as well, we saw Darkspawn fall so far behind against Bulldog, who were having a very clean game for such a long time. And then they managed to bring back in not only just from good team play, but also some really great individual performances. And that's what I feel like they've somewhat lacked a bit, because they've had good early showing from PFI in the jungle, but for the most part, I haven't looked at Darkspawn and gone, wow, that player is playing like a superstar. But yesterday, their solo laners, Akaz and Beely, which is absolutely on fire. And understandably, Beely got the MVP with an insane KDA from his Rise play.
He showed up, but if you missed those games yesterday, you can actually head over to our YouTube channel at LVP UK and catch up on all of the previous VODs and all of the action we've had so far here. You can also head over to our Twitter at LVP UK, use that hashtag Forge of Champions and get in touch with us about all of the games, all of the discussions we've had. And speaking of discussions yesterday, I'm going to quickly hand the reins over to you guys while I leave. So you guys can have a little bit more of a discussion about the upcoming game, and I will see you in a second.
Okay. It's just
we're not going to have a discussion about the game. So, there's a lot of merch around us, as you can see, all Riot Games merch. I've asked this question before, but off the stuff that's only on camera, what would you take? You know, what would be your favorite? So, obviously, behind you, there is the Tibbers, we have the King Poro over there, we have some statues, the Jinx, the Pops.
I got pranked once here by this, because I said the arcade hacker in, because look at this. Like, this is a beautiful little statue of a really cool hero. Nice skin as well.
Well, can you pass the Braum? I think that's the one I would go for.
Okay, is it?
Yeah.
Right, here we go. Showcase it a little bit. This is hefty, right? Like, this is...
I mean, obviously, as some people who may or may not yet know, I used to actually be a player.
Did you? Really?
I was.
Did you ever win anything?
You know, I did. I won. And I would pick the Braum statue just because, you know, look at him. What a dad.
Amazing.
Okay, do you want to put that back?
Thank you.
We have some highlights from yesterday if anyone's interested. This is the first series where E9 went up against Nvision.
Right.
What?
Oh, here we go. Look at that.
There we go.
There we go. Look at that smile as well.
Beautiful.
And the little self-assured Braum smile. There we go. Yeah, oh, there, look at him go. Look at him being happy. He holds a Poro as well.
All right.
Hey, welcome back, you. Oh, no.
This is a little painful to watch. So,
oh boy,
we bring this up full screen now. Where I went, I had limited options on biscuits, but we had a little discussion about biscuits yesterday and the difference between biscuits and cookies. And we talked about some kind of quintessential British cookie, biscuits, not cookies here. First of all, you disgusted me with a message you sent me saying that rich teas are terrible. So I've got 4 different types of biscuits. I've got malted milk, I've got custard creams, I've got jammy dodgers, and I've got rich tea biscuits. So you're going to have one of these, and you're going to rate them. I would suggest either Mike mutes you or you put your mic at your face, because I don't want this to be some weird ASMR video. So
I'll start with the first one.
this was Orcs' recommendation.
This is a jammy dodger?
If I remember yesterday. Jammy dodger here.
Gonna give that a go.
So,
Shall I put it up?
Just put it up. Don't get crumbs on the nice new mics.
No need to.
Oh,
I can leave it.
They're really crumbly. How's that? Do you want a jammy dodger? Actually, if you're both eating, it's going to be really awkward for me to talk.
So,
I got a lot of
crumbly,
biscuits.
bit buttery. I love the tangy sweetness of the. Is it like
Jam.
It's kind of jam. It's not really jam. It's not.
It's definitely jam.
I want something a bit more crunchy. Is it
Well,
rich
I mean,
tea?
Rich tea's probably
Because
the most
this is-
crunchy here. I think malted milk's a little
So
softer.
this is probably like a 7 out of 10. It's okay.
7 out of 10.
It's,
Okay.
it's all right.
Well, you're doing a
I'm not
really good job of not
loving
casting
it.
this
I know
next
you-
series.
I know you really like it.
Let's.
Let
What do you
us
want to
know
move on
if
to
you
I know
now?
this is
agree.
sin.
This
Let
is,
us know if you
yeah, this is
agree or
real strange.
disagree.
I would normally, I would never put my biscuit back.
These are like the most bingeable biscuits, rich tea. Like I think like one isn't enough with rich tea. Is normally why. Whenever I have a rich tea, I just can't
we
not
have
eat
this
them.
in Netherlands. You put butter on them, and then hagelslag. That's a thing. No, you guys don't do
Just eat
that.
the biscuit.
Okay, gonna eat a biscuit.
That one's a bit more crunchy.
There's some crunch right there. I gotta say, yeah.
Were you wrong?
Yeah. I wasn't. No. I'm still not wrong. But, it's a 7 out of 10 as well.
A 7 out of 10. I mean, it's better than. To be fair, it's better because he said they were bad. Literally, in the message you sent me, you were like, "Oh, I've had them. They're boring. They're bad."
Now, they're mediocre, but that's still like it's still.
That's
more
not
like-
7 out of 10
7
isn't
isn't mediocre. 5 is mediocre.
No.
And you
is
have
like
high stat. What you?
I have high
If
standards.
7's mediocre, then is
What
1
is-
just
I
literally
really
like
like
garbage?
cookies.
Is
Oh,
1 just
sorry,
like a bit of
not-
garbage
sorry,
put in your
not
biscuits?
cookies.
Biscuits, come on.
I know you're very adamant about
all
this.
right,
So, what are these other two? Because
Well,
I've
so we got
never
malted
seen these
milk.
before.
We got malted milk and we got custard creams. Now, custard creams are actually insane. So I'd say maybe save them for last.
Okay.
Let's move on to the malted milk.
This is just not.
They
the
have a
same.
cow on them. They're great.
This is not just the same as the one I just had.
No.
This is different. Okay, I don't know how.
Do you know how much money I spent on biscuits for you to say, is this not what I just had?
They taste roughly the same.
I think we're ready to get into picks and bans. So if we just bring
There's
picks and
not a
bands
lot-
up,
there's
we'll,
not a lot
we'll,
of different-
God.
I'll
we'll
say
round this up and then we'll.
I'll say this custard cream. That's a 6 out of 10. That one's boring.
What? Yeah? Okay. Finally, we didn't actually.
You were nearly getting kicked off the show. I'm not even kidding.
This is an 8.5. This is
8.5?
prime. Yeah.
All right, maybe we'll kick him off the show. Let's move into picks and bans. I'm so done with this biscuit conversation. What we have learned is Chronicler's just completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, be sure to tweet at us and tell us how wrong Chronicler is and how much you hate him and want him off the show.
Maybe we'll do a biscuit tier list without Chronicler, obviously, because
Yeah.
his opinion is apparently terrible. As we do head into our final best of 3 of Forge of Champions, we look at what's been taken away, and oh boy, am I not surprised. We've had the Carthus, we've had the Rise removed.
I am not even slightly shocked. Yeah.
Face of shock.
Completely understandable. Take that Rise away. It's so strong this meta, and Beely had dominating performances on it. Now going to see that Zed taken away as well. Remember, Beely has played things like the Aurelia. The Akali is something they could pick up. 3z3 was playing the Zed into the Akali in the series they had yesterday.
And I'm kind of expecting him to either go for the Aurelia Ben here as Darkspawn or just pick it away immediately, because you can't give it to Borrelia for very obvious reasons. His name is Borrelia, rhymes of Aurelia. That's because he's an absolutely insane Aurelia top player. So I'm suspecting that they're going to pick it up, because I feel like the Aurelia is both a power pick and very flexible. Like you can first pick it and kind of get away with it. But maybe I want to say we don't want to commit to that too early. Just going to ban it.
Crucially, what's also been left open is that Vladimir. So Vladimir open, Aurelia open. You can't take both of them away from Borrelia. But remember, we saw Jace into that Vladimir yesterday, and it was a really effective matchup in the top lane. So I feel like they will take the Aurelia first pick, deny that. Borrelia has always taken Vladimir here when it's available. That is what we've seen of him. They're actually going to pick up that Akali first. We don't know where they'll go yet. And maybe that Jace from yesterday put some fear into him.
See, for me, I like the fact that they go for the Akali here because it's really, into most of Beely's champ pool, the Akali actually just smashes. Like the majority of Beely's champ pool here. He does have things like the LeBlanc as well that are fairly mobile. Got also that kind of counter assassination available to him. But for the most part, we look at like the Syndra, we look at the Rise, we look at things that typically versus an Akali can have a bit of a rougher time, especially things like that Syndra. As Nvision, they now take away that Kai'Sa as well, give Spark something nice and comfortable as well. And the question for me is, what are we going to see get picked up as the answer here? Because they don't know if this Akali is going top. They are going to pick up the Varus. This is something we've been seeing rising in popularity recently.
I think there's still a lot of supports on the table, so your choices are pick something like the Braum, which goes really well with the Varus, or you go for something like a jungler for PFI. He's always had some really solid early performances, and we know he likes it. At least that could be a good pickup here because it's so strong at ganking the Aurelia and potentially setting up the Varus for his ult. Also, the Jarvan is still available, and that's a pretty solid option, so it comes down to what they're prioritizing. They will go for that at least, the PFI, so a lot of early pressure on that pick.
I do feel like with the Varus, you need something that makes sure that he doesn't get demolished, especially if there is an Akali and a Kai'Sa on the other team that can dive into the backline and can dispose of him fairly quickly. And as we saw, Relia, probably this Vladimir going to go to him. We have seen him switch it up before as well.
I prefer this though, by picking it here. You don't give Darkspawn any time to counter it. So if he's scared of something like the Jace in the top lane, this is that opportunity to ban it, to make sure it won't get punished. They have banned away the LeBlanc because again, that Aurelia is a flex. They don't know exactly where it's going. We don't know if it's Akali top and Vladimir mid for sure, but it's very, very, very likely to be Borelia's Vladimir and 3z3's Akali based on what they're playing.
As long as they don't put Freeze at 3 in the top lane anymore, I'm going to be more than happy as we see the Morgana and the Nautilus both getting banned away here.
Also the LeBlanc. That was the one thing I kind of highlighted. Beely could probably deal with this Akali playing. That's now been taken away. Question for me is what is open now for Beely? He might opt into something like the Syndra. Typically one of the things we were seeing, especially during the European Masters a lot, were people playing the Jace mid into the Akali as a counter. But I don't know if it's in Beely's wheelhouse.
That's why I think it's a bit interesting that they've not seen this Jace as a threat. Because to me, it's a good matchup with the Vladimir and the Akali. It can be flexed. So I feel like that's the ideal pick for Darkspawn. But clearly, Nvision either aren't worried about it or they don't think that Darkspawn have it in their champion pools.
And I think with what we saw yesterday was that Lina, once he finally got the Jace, he was able to completely dismantle them. So I do feel like this is a greedy call by Nvision because it's not like they didn't show that the Jace can be a problem for them beforehand. So either they're saying, we don't think that it's in the champion pool of Akaz and Beely to get picked up here, and we're going to risk leaving it open and just leave it be, as they also pick up the Thresh here. So Thresh Kai'Sa, a lot of CC, very versatile lane, can go a lot of directions. And actually the Sylas getting picked up here, and I feel like we haven't really seen that pick a lot here at Forge of Champions, but I really like it here.
The priority's been down. It's a pretty good matchup into the Akali, and it also can steal the ult away from the Vladimir, which is very impactful. I've seen situations where in the Sylas Akali matchup, the Sylas can just dumpster the Akali. We saw that at MSI. Now it comes down to the support pick. Tom Kench would be a good pick to offer safety and good against the Thresh, but Braum is a solid lane matchup with the Varus. However, Tassa gonna go for that Galio, so he wants the global pressure, which will help out the really strong solo lanes he has.
Well, and Nvision, they also round it out, give Infinity over the Olaf as well, so something that can also kind of match the early that PFI is going to be offering on this Elise. So I do worry, though, for both of these junglers, because if this game goes late, it's going to be really boring for them. Obviously, Olaf later will at least offer a little bit more than the Elise. He kind of just turns into a cocoon bot, provided she hasn't just hard snowballed.
Well, yeah, the Elise has that cocoon, and she has a bit of execute pressure when she goes in the repel and gets on top of someone on low HP. The Olaf is at least a meat wall, but it's not going to be about them. It's going to come down to these carries. Aurelia, Sylas, Vladimir, Akali. Those are 4 champions that are so strong right now, so dominating. It's very easy for them to make the game about them. So really, it's going to come down to who can make the standout performances from these teams and make the series about them.
And I think there's a little bit of a mismatch as well in terms of where I expect the junglers to put their attention, because I don't think Infinity, unless he knows what PFIs is tracking him and wants to go for a counter again, has any reason to really go up to the top side. That's not how Nvision have been playing either. They've really been letting Borrelia just leave him alone on the Vladimir, farms up the 2 items, and then we start to include him in our play, meaning that either we can focus to try and snowball for the Akali, which, as far as snowballable champions go, is amazing, or you have to set up with the Thresh in the bot lane. So it does mean that Borrelia, we know that he can get targeted, and I think that an Aurelia, Elise to to play against for him.
Yeah.
Is he really needs to step up and not get taken out there, because if he falls too far behind, like we've seen happen, it doesn't matter how good your team fighting is.
Yeah, I think for me, it's got to be, for the side of Infinity, you need to track what PFI does, because at least is stronger pre-6. If you find the jump on the Olaf, you can stun him, burst him down in that stun, especially since Olaf likes to be low HP in his clear because it benefits his clear speed. So I think pre-6, you just want to track the Elise. If you go for a gank mid, you want to counter gank it. And then once he hits 6 and he has the safety of that Ragnarok, he can go more aggressive and make more plays on him. I do think, though, bot lane is always going to be a good option with that Thresh.
I want to know now some predictions. Who do you think is going to win and why? So Orcs, first of all, I'm going to go for you. Is it going to be Darkspawn? Is it Nvision? And why do you think they got that?
I think I've got to give this game to Nvision. I know I'm favoring Darkspawn for the series, but I just think the Vlad, I'm not sure that Ak is going to be able to do enough on the Aurelia to shut it down. If PFI doesn't dominate this early game, I think the Vlad and Akali will just become so difficult to deal with, especially when you have a Varus on your backline he need to protect. It's not going to be easy to do. So I think the game's going to be close, but as it gets later, Nvision will pull ahead.
Monica?
I gotta agree with you there, and again, I feel like it might not even be the fact that Rella is able to get ahead, but I was really impressed with Freeze at 3 when he was able to stay ahead or get even of his opponents.
When he wasn't 0-6 top playing his ear.
0-7 because he got shut down. And I think that UK meal deal, even on champions that were in the Rakan, which was incredibly impressive, has always looked really good. So having him on the Thresh, that does allow for all that playmaking potential, does allow for setting up the rest of your team, is going to be a really good place for them. I am really worried about the Olaf pick, though, and I'm also going to be looking at the build there, because I would not mind if you go for something like, you know, you've seen the Redemption, the Nice Vow, the Olaf builds where you really just focus on supporting Spark. That seems like a good avenue to me.
Well, both of our analysts are voting for Nvision here in this final game of Forge of Champions. It's all on the line for Darkspawn and Nvision. Loser of this series will go home empty-handed, and the winner will qualify for the UKLC, or in Darkspawn's case, retain their spot on the UKLC.
Yeah, we could end up having two new teams in the UKLC if Nvision do end up winning out. But still, Darkspawn need to drop 2 games for that to happen, and there's no way they're going to let that be easy. Infernal Dragon, the first one that's up, so I feel like that's going to be a point of contention. Both these junglers pretty capable of soloing that one out. I've got to say, though, Infinity is more favored to it because of the side of the map he's on. Because he's on the red side, if he does that dragon, he can simply walk out. Whereas if PFI is doing the dragon and he gets caught, he has to burn his flash to get over the wall. And on top of that, UK Meal Deal with the Lantern offers a lot of safety. So I expect to see Infinity wanting to make a play around that and maybe try and solo it out when he hits level 4 or 5.
And also interesting to know here is that, of course, we see Beely and FreeZFV both going for the Conqueror, so both of them opting to go into that rune that is going to give you a lot more ability in these extended fights where you can actually get the 5 stacks up, able to consistently proc the passive and get the true damage and the healing. And this is 9.9, so that means that Conqueror wasn't nerfed yet, still as strong as it's ever been, and quite like that, even though these aren't champions that you traditionally think of when you go for Conqueror. You know, like I think the rune originally really kind of had that Fiora or Aurelia feel, but I really like that we're starting to see it on more and more. Also, junglers really picking up, as we see Infinity here as well. Previously, Olaf just always going for Predator, but this also gives him a little bit more skirmishing power and a little bit more leeway into the mid game when he wants to go for these extended fights.
I think as well as that you can build tanky and the Conqueror damage, it's similar to the tank Jarvan. It allows you to still be a threat on the backline.
Yeah, you do lose stuff, especially on the likes of this Olaf, where you don't have that Predator for the early movement speed, but offers you like a nice early jungle gank, but what it does offer, like you said, is that sustained damage, is that threat, that scaling presence as well. So it's very swings and roundabouts. It's always that there's not like an ideal build, which is quite nice. It's the same thing with our whole Rek'Sai conversation, where a lot of people would say Hairlebade is better, but then a lot of people also say Conqueror. But we are seeing Infinity going for a little invade here, as PFI is on that bot side of the map. Hasn't been spotted, but it's going to take away these Krugs. And Orcs was telling us, talking about this yesterday to us, where he was saying, you know, this is a high-value camp. This is worth the most experience.
And what's interesting to me is PFI went for a really, like we talked about how he wants to snowball Akers in the top lane, because Aurelia is susceptible to that. but he's pathed so aggressively that he hasn't actually been able to clear a lot of his jungle, meaning that Infinity is going to have such a big farm lead once he
Oh, there's
actually
no
gets to
vision.
his own
Cocoon
side.
in, they got a lot of damage down. Akers jumps in with the blade surge. Brea does have that flash, uses the blood pool to kill a wall. The repel's not going to be enough for PFI to follow, but they force the flash out of Borrelia in the top lane.
Yeah, very good flash from Brelia. Sometimes you can mess that one up, but he found the long flash, able to get away, but crucially he loses it. He's down a Summoner and very vulnerable, and you can see how PFI is playing the map. He's wanting to be on this top side, assisting his strong solo lanes. It does mean that Darkspawn are in a bit of a position where they're left alone, but when they're under tower like this, there's not much an Olaf can do.
He's getting caught in again. Borrelia literally just face chested that bush. It was off camera. PFI was able to trade onto him, so he's okay. He is a Vladimir. He doesn't have mana costs. He does have the sustain from the transfusion, but down in CS, like you're saying, being pressured in this lane and now being completely summoner spellless might just be the avenue that PFI needs to get Akers snowballing.
And one crucial thing, if this Vladimir does fall behind, he is the only person on Nvision with the teleport. We have both Akers and Beely with TPs on the side. So if it gets to a stage where they start split pushing, only Borrelia can be the one to hold them in the lane furthest away from the objective that's the focus, likely to be the Baron. And that means if he's behind, Nvision are really vulnerable.
See the hook, the flash comes out, the ignite is down. UK Mildew low on HP, but Flirt also lower. Spark flashes forward and finds first blood.
Yeah, and Flirt just caught unawares, didn't even use the heal there. Really good play from the Nvision bot lane. And we said how Darkspawn had to be a bit careful because Infinity was focusing bot, but to be honest, that was not down to him at all. That was just a pure 2v2 out skill.
And this is reminiscent of what we saw yesterday when Den Voxney and Shazian were able to consistently find these plays against Darkspawn. And even without any jungler attention, able to tilt that bot lane matchup in their favor, as FreeZ3 takes a lot of painful trades.
Yeah, Beely's doing really good in this matchup 1v1. Just really bringing it to 3Z3 in these trades. And obviously when he hits level 6, he gets that so much kill potential because of the ult he can take away from the Akali. The one advantage I will say, 3Z3 with that Ignite will be able to reduce the healing. So if things do become an all-in, that is going to be more advantageous than the teleport.
We are seeing Sparta going into that Mana Immuno build as well. It's been rising in popularity across the last few days here. Still haven't seen us rock a mid. We've talked about it, not popped up so far. I feel like if there was a player who would be able to play it, it would be Beely, but I feel FreeZ3 has so many champions we can deal with the likes of a Soraka mid, but we're probably not going to see it this series.
I've got to give credit though to Beely because some criticisms have been the champion pool, have been the lack of confidence, but he's been willing to play things like the Aurelia, like the Rise, like the Silas. These are all very strong, very staple meta picks, and for him to have a grasp on all of them and be confident to bring them out when there's so much pressure, I have to give him credit for it.
This is crucial though, as Beely is backing because he's only backed once and has no teleport available. Nvision is starting to set up this Infernal Dragon, and on a composition like this with the Kai'Sa, with the Olaf, the early combat stats are really going to help you out, not only in your lanes, but also in securing any subsequent objectives, and I don't think there's any reason, or any way rather, that Darkspawn can really contest this.
No, they go for the steal attempt. They might have been able to actually get it because he did smite it to 30 HP, but the timing wasn't there. The Infernal goes to Nvision, and crucially, the next Dragon is another Infernal, which I've got to say, does favor Darkspawn because it gives them a chance to equalize those bonus stats.
Well, PFI now just quite content to pick up the Krugs. We want to see more from this Elise now. At that successful gank early as Borrelia does dodge away on the flawless duet. Now Borrelia might just be able to put some damage into Akers with that power transfusion.
It has to be careful. He used the Blade Surge when he didn't land the stun, didn't have the reset, so essentially just got into melee range of Borrelia when he was charging that that empowered Q. And you have a quick pause, so we're going to have a look at the replay.
First blood.
Yeah, so we see Flirt actually get great hug from UK Mealdil, does flash away, and then crucially, Flirt just isn't expecting the flash in from Spark, doesn't even use the heal, and I think crucially, the Grievous Wounds timed out as he would have been able to heal. So just really good play, honestly, from the bot lane of Nvision.
Well, with this, Nvision have themselves a 400 gold lead over Darkspawn at the moment, but nothing to write home about.
It literally, just as you said that, some gold got collected and it went straight back to 200. So a very insignificant amount, but that first Infernal is definitely a big factor. And I think if they manage to secure that next one as well, it's really going to put a lot in their favor for the later game stages. We do see, if we look at the top lane, a massive CS discrepancy. It's what we wanted to see. When Borrelia picks his Vladimir, he's punished in the early, but remember, he will still scale into a monster.
That is the fear.
That's
But like you
always the
said,
thing
there's
with
also
Vladimir,
the,
right?
there's also the option when you've got the Silas, you can just hijack that big team fight impact ult. So can be quite hard to deal with it as well for them. So curious to see how these kind of later game fights are going to phase out here, because you've got the ability to take away some of the or kind of just hit them back with what makes them so impactful in some of these trades.
I think that the team fights for neither team is really clear cut. Like you say, if you find yourself a Hemo Plague and then Flirt and Fartlek can follow up with the Varus ultimate and the Galio taunt, there are some possibilities there. But for Nvision, I don't feel like they're the cleanest team fights that you need. Free to kind of skirt around the edges of the fight. And Olaf, especially once he get later in the game, like you said, he's mainly just going to be a meat shield, because with how it's looking thus far, I don't think he's going to snowball to the point where you can have this situation which the Olaf can just start a team fight, use Ragnarok and run at the enemy AD carry and blow him up. And something like a Varus would be susceptible to that. But with how the game state is currently looking, the pace is very low. I don't see that happening.
I think for me, it's just going to come down to, can Darkspawn protect this Varus? It's almost going to be like a VIP situation. Nvision have a ton of dive. If they find a flank, it's going to be really hard for Flirt to do anything. And if he falls down, like, sure, the Aurelia and the Silas can still be very strong.
Oh, actually,
looking for an all-in.
steals the ulti, does get the Galio on top, but it's enough to force Freezy away as the Chain Lash comes down, and Beely forced to use the perfect execution there.
Both of them actually ended up trading ults, but crucially, Beely did not want to go under the tower to use his to try and find that kill. Beely again come ahead and trade, but actually seen it all in bot lane.
They're jumping onto Flirt, the ulti comes down, the box is there, and Spark secures the kill. Now teleport's coming in from Akers, they've got that flank, they've got that taunt, the Vanguard's edge is on. Akers looking to jump onto one, Spark is burning out to the Ignite, UK Mildo goes down, and 2 kills are picked up for Darkspawn.
Really good punish from Darkspawn, but still, you got to wonder how this play starts, and we are going to see. So Flirt just stepping up way too far. You don't have your support, you don't have vision. Does avoid the CC, but crucially, you take so much damage, there's no way you're getting out. The consolation is Darkspawn are ready to punish. Akers instantly TPs in, and I'm sure he's going to be happy to be picking up some gold from that exchange. Unfortunately, does not get either of the kills, but happy to get some assist gold.
We also saw Beely there just making sure that that roam wasn't going to get punished. And using just teleport and the flash there, the really nice trade for Darkspawn. Although I gotta say, we've seen Brelia be in a position like this before where his mid game is kind of awkward. You know, he's just trying to slowly scale. And then Akers still can't underestimate the burst damage coming out from this Vladimir.
Freezy free, actually. No ulti available, but throws out. The hook comes down onto Pier 5. Fastleg jumps in with a Justice Punch, lands himself a taunt. Freezy frees low HP, and Beely is going to be able to secure the kill. The heal from Triumph is enough, but he burns down to the Ignite, and it's a 1-for-1 in the mid.
Yeah, really good read, honestly, from 3z3 to find that opportunity, uses Ignite to secure the kill. And honestly, Beely might have got a bit greedy there. Still had his flash, could have potentially gained some distance and survived there. But in the end, it is a 1-for-1 despite all the roaming that came through. However, we do see that they've actually sent the bot lane of Darkspawn up to the top side of the map. My concern with this is that the Infernal Dragon, the second one, is going to be spawning soon, and you are lacking your AD carry. I understand you don't have TP on Akers, so maybe you just want to move him there, but it looks like they might be swapping back. But my concern is still going to be you don't have TP on Akers, you do not want to give up the second Infernal Dragon, and it is spawning very soon.
I don't even feel like they're really in a position to go for it now. As you see the plates getting pushed in by Yukimida and Spark, they can just rotate first here. They have Brelia if the need arises, but looks like they don't really want to take the risk and set that up preemptively, as Infinity are going to go for it at least now, and they know that this is happening as well.
Crucially, I just saw that Spark just got enough AD to upgrade his Q. So crucially, you need that pickaxe, the mana immune, but then also some mana stacks to provide the extra AD. And he now has the evolved Q, going to make a very strong team fight. But Beely might be caught out here.
He does use that chain to jump away, throws out the perfect execution on TK Mildil, gets the damage and the assassination off. 1v2. Beely comes up huge. Now a chain lash is coming in, and Akers is on the hunt for Freezy. Does have that Vanguard's edge. No flash, and Freezy forced to run away.
Yeah, good play from Beely. They thought they had caught him, but really he was one catching UK meal deal, and crucially that allows them to put pressure on this Infernal Dragon. They should get it fairly easily.
I actually want to have a little talk about this lane. As third Drake is going to be Infernal, by the way, and we might have to hold that fork. Spark might just be getting caught out here. Doesn't realize that Fastleg's on him. They try to get the chain lash off. Fastleg, no flash, so he can't go for the taunt. Now they throw a little bit of damage out, and Borrelia is on that flank. Darkspawn are able to disengage, and kind of going back to my point, I want to talk about this mid lane, because yesterday when we saw Freezy3 play this Akali mid, he was hyper aggressive, and it was costing him a lot because he was concentrating 1-for-1 mid, dying, feeding the Zed. This time, Beely is just popping off.
It was
he was on the Zed. Sorry, you're right. You're right.
Which was banned for him now, and it's kind of understandable as well. Yesterday we saw, of course, Vixen play really aggressive. I do feel with the power spikes now hit by Nvision that if they find the subsequent teams, like also UK Meal did that on their play on Beely, nicely sidestepped by Beely, but also with both the Flay and the Hook going wide, there's not really an opportunity for you to try and burst down the silos and put them in a situation where you need to use a skill to survive instead of just being able to use everything just to burst you down. And I would love to see Nvision try and contest this Rift Herald, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Well, they're going to force out the teleport from Beely as he's now looking just to defend this tower before these plates go down. There's Darkspawn are looking to try and get on to this Rift Herald, but can Beely defend this final plate as he steals away Spark's ulti? Gives him a little bit of kind of leeway, a little bit more mobility to work with, and the Rift Herald will fall here.
Yeah, Crucially would make it a very hard dive, and Operation was success. They defended the tower and they got the Rift Herald, so now that is in the pocket of PFI. He has the opportunity to use that, but crucially, as you just saw, turret plating has fallen. They won't be able to get that extra gold from using that Rift Herald. Right now, it looks like Darkspawn's sent that bot lane mid, and Nvision are trying to make a reaction, but with Infinity on a ward, I don't think there's going to be much that will come from this.
Yeah, UK Meal was not on a ward, but they knew that there was one person around. They hadn't seen him for a while, so they decided to step away. My question for me is, where is PFI going to use this ulti? Is once again, multiple members are looking to find out Beely. Able to make his way away. The slow from the chain lash is there as he dodges out on the axe. Flash is available, and he just jumps away with Ian. Infinity unable to answer out. The Rift Herald's going to get summoned in the mid lane. We're having a race for a turret here.
And what really baffled me there is that Beely's not only able to get away, but none of the rest of the team wants to follow up there. Take a lot of damage.
Well, they're looking for the fight. That's going to be the turret going down. PFI low HP as the Shuriken flip is dodged away.
Yeah, they do finally get the flash from Beely, so there is some success there, but they lose the tower in the mid lane, and now it looks like they're going to try and get that other charge in the Herald, and there's no real way for Nvision to stop that. Eventually, the Herald's going to go for it.
Does get the charge off. Okay, there was a moment where I was like, maybe they can take it out. They can't. Borrelia gets stunned up by Akaz. Akaz actually goes in for the full combo on. Lots of damage has come out, and Borrelia able to heal up with that Empowered Transfusion as everybody's roaming topside right now.
Yeah, and with Borrelia so low, he has to back away, and that means Darkspawn have the pressure advantage, they have the mana advantage. You see quickly, though, Nvision realize they are not going to win this topside skirmish, so they head mid. They want to answer back for that tower in the mid lane, so it will just be a trade in the end.
I think that's a really good call because even with Beely rotating, I don't think he can hold one v4 here, and you create so much map pressure by just taking that mid lane turret. It's going to open up the map for them, allow them to make more plays, and about like we took a look at the goal total. What is important is that Beely's the only one who's really ahead, whereas Spark and Borrelia have caught up and gotten ahead.
Yeah, and crucially, we did see Freezy3 actually use his ultimate there to try and punish Beely. Didn't manage to find anything. I think Beely used the Kai'Sa ult he picked up earlier to back away. Now, PFI going to try and ward Infinity off his jungle. Remember, this Olaf with ult is a lot much harder target for the Elise to deal with, as he is just going to negate that cocoon when he uses Ragnarok.
It looks like he is able to at least secure that objective, and now Wave pushing in on this bot side. PFI.
Is that intentional? At least secure that objective.
Hey!
You see, I wish I had the foresight to have made that like not by accident.
You just claim it.
Yeah.
Just lie.
I'm not very good at lying. My mum always told me never to lie.
I mean, it's not a bad habit not to lie, but you could have owned up then. I think we both would have believed you. I would. I don't know about you.
No, but I mean, I would have pretended to believe you on cast, but I wouldn't have actually believed you.
You wouldn't have been pretending, mate.
No, I would
I've got with you long enough to know what you're like.
True. We will have a little look at the items. We see QSS picked up very early from UK Meal Deal. Scared of all that CC. Now PFI, he's found Borrelia.
Oh, Lord! He does so much damage. The Hemoplate comes out, repels up. And he pops down. He has to get that blast going out in time. And nope, Infinity is going to be able to get the kill.
Yeah, crucially, Borrelia had the empowered Q ready. He knew he could not fall down him, or he would just give him that HP back.
That is bad timing.
Tries to get out, and yeah, Infernal Dragon coming up very soon. It spawns now. The only hope that Darkspawn have is to either wipe Nvision with a team fight or steal it. And when they don't have a smite, that's a hard task to do.
It looks like they're just going to have to give this up. You can see in the meantime, Akka's pushing away multiple members from Nvision are hanging about. It's 3k HP
TP
onto
coming in.
this. They got the teleport coming in. The fight is looking to break out right now. They're going to give up the Drake as the box is taken away by Beely. The flash in as Freezy Free tries to secure himself a kill. Flirt's still alive and he gets picked up. Now Nvision are trying to find themselves the fight, but a 3-man taunt comes down. The Ragnarok has been used and Freezy Free is exceptionally low. Borrelia enters into the fray and they are just whitewashing through everyone on Darkspawn. Akers going for the solo kill onto Borrelia. Can't quite get the connection. Doesn't find the stun. And Akers unable to answer out. Nvision come out on top.
And I've just got to ask, what was Darkspawn doing? The Infernal was already gone. You're fighting 4v5 in that team fight. And you saw Nvision play to the win condition. Actually,
no.
Akers probably still going to be in trouble here.
That's the blood pool. He is donezo as they secure that kill. Infinity is going to take a few tower shots, but not enough to kill him.
And what is crucial there is what you mentioned earlier, Ux. Even with Freeze at 3 getting taken incredibly low, as I hope that Nvision can disengage here, the Flirt can't do anything there. The moment he gets attacked by NECC, we see Spark dives in really deep with the Killer Instinct. Freeze at 3's on top of him.
Infinity's on a ward.
Infinity, no.
The cocoon hits the wrong thing!
A hard shot to make when they're so close together. Crucially, PFI does not connect onto Infinity. He does burn his flash, but that's a lot better than going down. 3v3 now actually potentially looking for PFI.
Yeah, Freezy Free doesn't have that perfect execution at the moment, so PFI laying a little bit back, but now on spot on those wards, and now you might be in for a little bit of trouble. He can rappel up, but he's got to come down. He's actually looking to go in. Borrelia going to pick that kill up. 2-0-2 on this Vladimir, and this is why we bigged it up.
Yeah, and PFI just dropping the ball in this Elise twice in a row, getting picked essentially for nothing. And that's now cemented Nvision's lead, almost 4,000 here, and they got that extra Infernal. And crucially, if you look at how the team fight played out, as you said, Chronicler, they just jumped on the Varus and there was nothing he can do. And now that they have a gold advantage, it's going to be so much easier to do that.
Yeah, and 2 Infernals as well, because that first Infernal kind of evened it up. But now with the second one being picked up, not so great anymore. And I would have loved to see Darkspawn call PFI back there, because he was on his own trying to clear out 2 control wards in the Dragon Pit, where for the next 4 minutes no Dragon is going to come, off on his own without any knowledge as to where the rest of the team was. And Darkspawn, they need to play according to their vision and the strong side of the map. There was crucially also no heroic entrance available for Fazlak, so you don't even have that backup. You have no teleport and rather no ward to teleport to. So he's just... They can't afford to make those kind of plays because Nvision is starting to get in the groove. But we've seen so many times where the early game is looking a little bit shaky. But then as the game progresses, they get these items. Borrelia started off with a pretty big advantage. Still doesn't have the best of CS in terms of if you compare it to Akers, but 2-0-2 on the Vladimir now, that's dead even.
And look how scared Akers was playing there. All the gold that's been given to Borrelia means Akers doesn't even have that finished Triforce. He wasn't willing to go for that trade, even though he landed the stun. And now, Darkspawn, they're trying to get some vision control. They do find Infinity.
Yeah, the Ragnarok is going to be not even used, actually, by Infinity. Just waits it out, gets the Lantern. Now Akers going for that 1v1 versus Borrelia, but the Hemo Plague and the Blood Pool is enough to sustain, and Borrelia walks away the victor from that fight.
I mean, that's the issue, is that you go for the all-in. If you don't manage to kill them, then crucially the Vlad will heal up. But the ult was used from Vladimir. Akers still maintains his, so he might look for another opportunity soon. And it means if Borrelia does TP into... Well, I mean, the TP's not available. If he does roam up to join a team fight, he doesn't have that crucial ult available for it. But taking stock of the items, look at the difference between the AD carries. And I know that the Kai'Sa has a cheap build. She's gone for that man immune option, but she is so strong right now. She has her E and her Q upgrade, so she's going to be very good in team fights. And as soon as she has that Mirror Mana fully stacked, she's going to be doing monstrous amounts of damage.
And they're going to be able to cut through this Baron if they can get their hands on it. And Beely may just be a victim of the fight. As every bit of CC lands down, Beely is picked up.
You can't afford to face check yet, because you know they're all there. You just saw 4 people, and then he face checks the brush, walks into his own jungle, unwarded, and the control that Nvision is taking right now.
What is PFI doing? What is PFI doing? You're dead.
They just keep assuming that Nvision have started the Baron, but in reality, they're just getting control of the area, so they keep walking into it. And now is when they'll start the Baron. They just got 2 really easy picks. So why not? There's no real contention that can come in. You can see Akers flirting fast like heading over, but this Varus only has the Blade of the Rune King. He is so weak. And then the other 2, sure, they're going to be pretty strong in this team fight, but it's essentially a 2v4.
It has to be an absolute monstrous fight here. They used that heroic entrance already, and Akers low HP, Freezy Free takes him down nice and simple, misses out on the damage, so they do get that taunt. Freezy Free flashes over the wall, the Baron has been picked up, and now they've been able to answer out 1 for 1, but they've lost everything in response. Beely has a Ragnarok to use, but he's not going to be able to find the fight. And Nvision are coming up huge in this first game.
Look at that bot lane difference with the gold. 3,000 between Kai'Sa and Varus. And especially the new build with Kai'Sa means you can afford to get these cheap items. Instead of getting a Blade Rune King first like Varus has to, you get a Manamune, which is way cheaper. Almost 800, I believe. Actually, I believe it is 800. And so hitting the spike sooner, getting those massive amounts of damage, but Flirt hasn't even finished that Rage Blade yet, I believe. So it's such an item disparity. And the crucial thing is that Flirt has such a hard time playing these team fights that even if he was ahead, it would be difficult. Spark can just sit back, and then when he wants to, he ults in and kills the enemy AD carry. Flirt does not have that luxury.
It's a high-stakes game with high-stakes dragons. As a Mountain Drake is picked up for Darkspawn. Will help them if they can sustain out long enough, but for the moment, it's all going to be about Nvision on this siege.
And I love that we see Brade go for the Proto Belt first, and then straight up into the Death Cap, just prioritizing raw amounts of team fighting damage coming into this. And I kind of understand it, because Darkspawn have not been very diligent, have not been good about avoiding these 4v4, 5v5 fights, even have just been walking into the enemy jungle.
Varus just recalled and bought the components for Rage Blade, but still doesn't have it. Spark is 3.5 items in comparison. It is so difficult right now for the Varus to really do anything, especially when you look at the threat. And as you said, that Rabadon's Umbrella means if he just presses R on the Varus, he's basically zoned from the fight.
Oh, Cocoon, this is the moment. The two-man taunt comes down by Fastlane. He gets minced through. The flashes come down, though. And Nvision are able to disengage. That might have been their moment. It wasn't enough.
Cleanse, though, crucially used, and that means that there might be an opportunity. If we see Spark go too far forward with a Killer Instinct, then if they can land some form of CC, because there's a lot for Darkspawn. There's the Cocoon, there's the Flawless Duet, the Galio Taunt, or even if Beely can get a top of the Abscond of Duct. There are these possibilities now, but it's got to be such a massive overextension, and with Baron Waves starting to hit the base of Darkspawn, it's not looking good.
Well, that's just the end of Fastlane. He gets picked up. Borrelia lands a massive Hemoplague, and Nvision just cut through everyone on Darkspawn. Akers gets perfectly jumped onto, throws out the Vanguard's edge, but he is taken down. A double kill for Spark, and Nvision find themselves the ace.
And what a dominant performance. No way they don't end here. They crushed Darkspawn, and we said, you know, Nvision in the later stages would be able to come together, but really, they just took over the game from that dragon fight. They caught out PFI, and it felt like Darkspawn just fell apart after that point.
And you got to imagine that the pressure that is weighing on Darkspawn here plays a big role in this, because they kind of were able to hold themselves well in the early game, but I feel like in the mid game we saw them make so many mistakes where they just walked, face-checked the enemy jungle, walked where they shouldn't have, and they got to completely turn around in the second map here. I think we're going to see Nvision do exactly the same thing in game number 2.
25 minutes on the clock, and Nvision get game 1 over Darkspawn, and they are one step closer towards making their way into the UK LC.
Yeah, and it must feel so good for them to have secured that one win. Now, Darkspawn have to 2-0 to stop themselves getting knocked out and earn their spot in the UKLC. There's a lot of pressure, especially when you see how that game went. A lot of mistakes. I think that was uncharacteristic compared to how Darkspawn played yesterday, and it looked messy. And I think that's going to really hit hard, because you don't have, you know, a week to go, okay, we're playing next week, we'll try and work on things now. You have 5-10 minutes before the next game, and if you play similarly as you did to that game, you will lose. You will get knocked out the UKLC, and there is so much pressure.
I mean, it's all starting to kind of pile up here. There was a light in the tunnel as well. Beely was 3-1 on that Silas, and then just constant mispositions coming through, and he was getting caught out, taken down. And it wasn't a champion pool issue. It really, to me, didn't look like he was struggling on that Silas. He looked very comfortable on that champion, but the weakness came from they weren't playing around the vision right, and Nvision just, I mean, it's in their name. The vision was great at Baron.
I mean, do you want to?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you go.
Thank you. What really impressed me is that it wasn't just a little bit of overzealous movement from Darkspawn. There's also consistent punishment coming through, because the moment that you see someone like, we saw that Beely got a really big advantage, and then it was fairly neutralized fairly efficiently. We saw in the top lane that there actually was quite a big lead for Akers, which he's been known to accrue before, but then they pull off the lane swap. It doesn't really work. They need to swap back because the Infernal is coming up. And it's moments like this where you start to lose, you know, 10 CS, 20 CS. The advantages start to diminish. And more importantly, you relieve the pressure. And Nvision have shown time and time again that if you just give them an easygoing mid game, they're just going to take over.
And I think that's the thing, is that for me, Beely and Akers, in the laning phase with the stronger laners, but it felt like as a team, Nvision just played so much better. And I think their bot lane was stronger, and I think PFI was just, it felt like they weren't coordinated as a team for Darkspawn, whereas Nvision, they knew exactly how they were supposed to win the game. And even though, yes, they may have came out of the laner phase a bit behind, it didn't matter because they just knew what their goal was and they played to it.
I mean, we saw PFI on that at least, playing that early game jungler. Had a very successful gank top lane early onto Bradley, and it was like, okay, this looks like they have room to set up, but then kind of got caught a few times, was unable to find any more punishments, any actual kind of proactive ganks. And then what happens to Elise whenever she falls behind or just hits that later game stage of the game, just it feels useless. And unfortunately for PFI, he wasn't able to use the time that, you know, Elise would offer you effectively. And the rest of the game just kind of fell apart around him. But with that, we now have Nvision, who are 1-0 up in this best of 3. We're going to cut to a quick break, and when we're back with game 2 of the series, so don't go anywhere. See you in a second.